Hello again, everyone. I want to touch on a subject that can actually be quite touchy. So there's loads of different recovery services. Now, how I see it is it's horses for courses. You know, just because my way worked for me doesn't mean it'll work for somebody else. And what didn't work for me could work for them. What I don't understand is why all these different recovery services are against each other. I've never understood it. You've got the 12-step programs, you know, your Anonymous is AA, NACA. I did all three. Over 4 years. They never worked for me. Now, I know people that they have worked for, and these people have got 6, 8, 10 years sobriety and clean time, as they call it. What I've come to notice is people who have got a long time drinking drug free and they're on the 12-step program. The 12-step program helps you to stop and stay stopped. But that's it, that's as deep as it goes. I mean, not all are like this, because I do know one bloke, lovely fella from AA. You'd never think he was ever an alcoholic. Just such a nice guy, very helpful and kind. And then I know others who, if you sat in a room with them, you would still think they were deep in addiction. Yet they've got 9 years drinking drug free. So they still act and behave and talk like an addict. But then when you look at the team where I am, you'd never ever have thought they were in addiction of any kind. And that is because stopping is just the start. The real work begins once you've stopped. It's about changing your addict behaviours. You're on top of the mountain and you put the work and effort in to stay there. It doesn't stop then, you know what I mean? Basically, how I felt in the 12-step programs was basically the principles of it. I couldn't agree with them. So addiction's a disease, apparently. To me, that sort of gave me no accountability whatsoever. So every time I'd relapse, I'd upset those closest to me, hurting myself. But it doesn't matter because I've got a disease. And also I'm powerless over this disease. So it's not my fault. I can't help it. You can't blame me. I'm powerless. And I have no control over this disease. So basically, I've already thrown the towel in before I've got into the ring. That's what it feels like to me. But then they said they want me to hand over all the power that I do have to some higher power, a God of my understanding. It's not a religious program, it's a spiritual program. But the word or name, God, is in every line of every step. The people who invented AA were religious. What if you fell out with God? What if you never had a God of your understanding? Are you on your own? No. It just never worked for me, and it never would have done. But it did for others. I don't have a problem with that at all. Now, people who do see the big blue book as their Bible, they can be very strict. I've got two friends, one from NA and one from CA. They both nearly fell out with me because of my method of recovery. One spoke to me face to face, bad mouthing my way and saying why his way's the only way. The one from NA messaged me privately, having a go at me, saying that I'd ripped apart NA. I've never done that. I'll just always be honest and say what didn't work for me and why, and what did work for me and how. It's all I can do. If the 12 steps works for you, then brilliant. If someone come to me and said they want to join my program, but they were in another program that was working, I'd tell them you don't need my program, because the way you're doing it is working. Why change anything? If what you're doing isn't working, that's a different story. Come to me, and my way more than likely would help you, because I was in addiction for 19 years and nothing worked. I tried the 12-step programs for 4 years, they just didn't work. I went into AVRT, addictive voice recognition technique. If you want to get into it, the best way of doing that, look up an author called Jack Trimpey, who written a book called Rational Recovery. I guess that book would be my Bible. That book and a certain program near my hometown, and that team saved my life. Studying AVRT, Rational Recovery. I studied it. And it's not a spiritual program, it's a science and fact-based program. It teaches you all about the brain, how the brain works. And instead of saying that addiction's a disease, it tells you that it's not a disease, that it's an opponent. And what can you do if you've got an opponent? You're no longer fighting yourself, are you? You're fighting an opponent. You're not powerless over it by any means. You're actually more powerful than the addiction. Control. It's not like the 12 steps. You can regain control, and you will. I've got nothing against any other recovery program whatsoever. All I want at the end of the day is for anyone in addiction to batter their addiction, to overcome their addiction, to win their lives back. With AVRT, it starts off like an analogy where, you've got a worker's tool belt, let's say, and as you're going along this program, you're collecting tools and you're adding these tools to your tool belt. You're using these tools to shut the opponent down every time it comes in, every time you hear it speak, every time it shifts your mood. You shut it down. When you've been doing that long enough, when you've been doing that long enough, that tool belt becomes a part of you, like an extra limb, and using the tools and shutting it down becomes a knee-jerk reaction. Also with the 12-step program, like any form of recovery, you are in recovery for life. You know, you can complete a program of AVRT, you can graduate from that program, but you're still in recovery for life, just like a 12-step program. But with a 12-step program, you've got to carry on attending meetings for the rest of your life. 90 meetings in 90 days, and then at least one meeting a week. Obviously a lot of them do a lot more than one a week, a lot do a couple of meetings a week. With my program, once you've mastered the tools and you've got full awareness, that's it, free to fly the nest. You don't need me or the team anymore. You shut the addiction down all by yourself. It's a life of freedom. Freedom from the misery of addiction. Another difference, when I was on the 12-step program, I was terrified to go anywhere, especially drinking environments. If there was ever, you know, a special occasion like a wedding, a funeral, a birthday, a holiday, I'd be terrified, because I knew that I was powerless over my addiction, that if it come calling, I was going to cave and it was going to win, it was going to get fed, which meant it getting fed was going to ruin my life. And it happened every time. Now, I can go into any environment I choose. I can go into a pub and watch the footy with the lads. I can go on an all-inclusive holiday with the family. I can go to weddings, birthdays, funerals. And I'm comfortable. Because I don't do it one day at a time. I made a lifetime commitment to never drink alcohol or use drugs again. And I choose to do that because I have power over my addiction, because I am in control. Some of yous, that might not be good enough explanation, and you might still think going in on the 12-step programs. I'm not. I will be forever grateful for what I did learn and pick up from those programs, because I did pick things up. You know, I get now, by spiritual, it's not about going to church, even though for a lot it was. It's about the spiritual side of me, a God of my understanding. He wasn't God in heaven. God of my understanding was the rooms. But you know, I can't put all the blame on those programs, and I won't, because I knew that back then I hadn't had enough. I still thought that I was enjoying drinking and using. I still thought that my opponent's thoughts were my own. And when I entered recovery early on, I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it for my wife and my family. So there you go. That could be why it never worked. Probably is. But so I repeated myself about 3 times before, because I had to pause the video to get Alfie on the lead. So there you go. There's my little analysis on different recovery programs. Nothing against any of them, nothing against people on other programs. I don't even care if you diss my program or AVRT in general. It doesn't bother me. Why would it? It worked for me. That's all that matters. And it's working for the people on my program. And if it works for anybody watching my videos on this channel, that really does make my day. And that's all that I want. So if you or anyone you know are suffering with any form of addiction, share my channel, get it out there. There's no monetization in any of this. I'm not getting paid for anything. I just have a passion for helping people escape the hell that I escaped, and I despise addiction. That's why I do this. I hope you're all well. Take care, stay in control.